I'll post in the chat.
Okay. So wait 3 minutes and then wait another 4 to 5 minutes for the.
No, wait till like 104, 105, but I'll post in the chat when you're actually on the Instagram account. But talk now, so it just switches to you.
So it just switches me. Okay. Oh, there's a, it switched to a Tom Gold drawing. Came up. I'm sorry, keep talking. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's good. Okay. Oh, all right. So I'm waiting patiently.
Do it on Instagram.
You can't, there's gonna be a lag. Like it's, I mean, you can't while you're in the room. That's gonna drive me nuts. You have to go to D&Q's page. Not mine.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
No one's watching. Really watching.
I know. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, dude.
All right. So
We do a welcome.
I'm going to do the official welcome in a couple minutes. Right now I'm just looking at my phone, which I'm on. All right. So Scott, come here. So I'm in my studio, our studio. This is my husband, the real Scott Roberts.
I'm not a fictional character.
He's a real
Well,
person.
semi-fictional. Fictionalized.
Yeah, sorry, you're bending down because I'm seated. Scott is leaving to go to work. I'm gonna show a little bit of his work once he's not here.
Just tell me when you want me to go.
When I want him to go. You can hang out for a minute. What do you want to say?
Do they feed you questions or
No, well,
Yeah,
they will. People
they
can
will.
type in questions if they want.
people probably have lots of questions for me?
I know they will. Scott has to go to work, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So he is just here for now. So don't ask him questions unless I know the answers.
I teach animation at DePaul University in Chicago. So if anybody's interested.
Scott is the real reason I got into comics. I was doing all kinds of other things and didn't know what was going on. And he created a class for me to take because I got free tuition at DePaul and I was teaching at the time, and he scheduled the class making comics with Aaron Renier at a time that was like fit in my teaching schedule. And that was the very beginning. That was in 2009.
Yeah.
He knows what I need.
And she made powdered milk, but Keiler made drawings and paintings in school that were, similar in a lot of ways to comics. And also the reason why I thought she would really
shit.
shit.
Oh no, I just did something bad. I don't know what it looks.
I hope you guys can all see us still.
Videos. I'm
Is
gonna
it
fix that. Just hang on. Sorry, I pressed
what?
something wrong. Oh, I'm good.
It's all right.
All right. I'm trying to look at the chat because Sarah Glidden just asked a question to Scott before you go.
Yeah. What?
Do kids still learn how to do cell animation?
Well, I mean, we do hand drawn. Like I teach hand drawn animation, but it's drawn on a Cintiq, just because it's a hassle to do it on paper. Like it just takes too long. You can always transfer to paper, and some people do some stuff, but scanning it eliminates all those steps, and it's really how things are done. So, yeah. Any other questions for me? I don't get that question.
Okay.
Before
I hold up my book, I'll do this while you're still here. Scott also is a cartoonist. He and I both had like a long career in gallery art, or fine art or whatever before going to comics, and he started making them at the same time I did. And he makes like these gorgeous experimental handmade books that are like the total opposite of what I do. Do you want to flip through it? This one is actually a flip book, and he does it on the risograph machine, like prints it himself, makes the book, draws every page, and you can read this one as a book, page by page. It tells a story, or you can flip through it and get sort of an animation.
Totally impractical to make.
And this is one of my favorite things that you've made.
Oh, thank you.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. The drawings in this book are phenomenal and so weird. So I have done work with Barbies, and he used a Ken doll as the model also. So we were kind of like all playing dolls at the same time. In the studio, we have like Barbies around. All right. Thank you. I think it's time.
Thanks for joining us in our
to
home.
start officially. That is the character, Scott Roberts. It's an odd coincidence that we have the same last name. I'm Keiler Roberts. That's not a coincidence. My last name was Sensenbrenner, but I switched it, and I didn't switch it when we got married. I switched it like 7 years after we got married, when I started comics, because my sister, Kate, gave me the good advice that Keiler Roberts is going to look a lot better on a book cover, and it certainly is easier to sign. The process of changing your name, you know, I had to do like all the official things with the social security card and whatnot. And I went to the DMV and had to show my marriage license, and he said, I'm changing my name. And it was a really old man, and he yelled at me. He looked at my papers and said, you've been married 7 years. It took you 7 years to get around to changing your name. And I wouldn't have, I wasn't planning on ever changing my name, but I'm glad I did. So this is my new book, My Begging Chart. The name comes from a chart that Zia did completely on her own, which is shown in the back of the book. And my studio is a mess. I looked all over trying to find the actual chart, and I couldn't. But it's in the book, and it basically records Monday through Sunday. I begged, yes or no. I got my way, yes or no, so she could scientifically determine how effective begging was. We have a lot of conversations, as like most parents do probably, about gratitude. And it's like a dirty word. I have so many issues with gratitude, and I've handed them all down. If I even say the G word, she freaks out. So begging is still being considered. Anyway, published by Drawn and Quarterly. So happy and grateful to be working with them. The book is thicker than my other books have been. I just lost a bookmark. It's black and white, except for the cover. I painted the cover, and I'm gonna talk about all kinds of things today, my work and so forth. Before My Begging Chart, I self-published 3 books, Powdered Milk, Miseryland, and Happy Happy Baby Baby. And this is the book that nobody knows about. You can still get it on Amazon. I know that's a dirty word. You can also order any books through an independent bookstore, which of course would be much better. But when I was self-publishing these books, I just used the Amazon platform. So, and there are people like Radiator Comics and Spit and a Half Comics that have these. But the reason I'm showing this book is it's the only one I did in color. And when I was working on My Begging Chart, one of the differences in the process is I really got away from telling a story that would span several pages. And each page, I think the longest story is 2 pages. Like each page is sort of a self-contained story. It's either a 1 panel vignette or 4 panels. And when I started, I was still like slightly getting away from that. So it does start with, you know, a longer story about imaginary friends. That's one of the very few places where I could do 6 panels in this book. But that was kind of the premise. The premise is, you know, having an imaginary friend. This book is a lot about like just what happens in your mind. You know, it's not so much about action in the body. It's just, you know, what does your mind do, whether it's playing or reacting. I don't think about him anymore that much. I don't want to give anything else away. On the topic of childhood, I brought some things that I made. This is like a doll that I knitted and embroidered, and I put embroidery floss hair on, and I made this little hoodie. I don't know how old I was when I did this. It's all done by hand. And she's got these little, it was one of those looms. You can knit on a loom, so it makes like a tube, you know, so it's very, very easy, sort of fake knitting. When I was a kid, I drew a little bit, but I didn't have like, I didn't draw a ton, you know, I wasn't like that kid that was amazing at drawing or anything like that. But I really loved sewing and just like crafting, making things. And I got really into Cabbage Patch Kids. This used to have a googly eye that has fallen off. This is a dress that's shaped like a dog on top of a doll that I made. So that's typical. That's how I started making stuff. And I had a dollhouse when I was little, and I don't know where this furniture came from. It is a lot chunkier and simpler than a lot of dollhouse furniture. But I really, really always loved the way these pieces looked. And I love like the simplicity of the aesthetic, that the burners are just, you know, circles, and it does have knobs and an opening door. But they're really, really boxy and kind of simple. And like the handle isn't to scale, you know, it's not as realistic as a lot of dollhouse furniture. That aesthetic, that is something I still like really, really sort of go for in my work. Like I don't want my drawings to look too fancy. I also have a little Matchbox car. We used to take our, like, we each had one car that we could repaint. And I don't know how much this is showing up, but this is mine, and you can see it's like all flaked off, but it's like the simplest car. I've always liked things that are like sort of square and simple. This little cardboard box is like one of my favorite things. Sia, you know, she sees all my stuff and she was like, I want that, I want that. And it's like, no, this is just going to become like one of your, you know, like hundreds of things that you throw around your room and step on. Like I've had this cardboard box my whole life, and it's one of my favorite things. It's like such a perfect size. I don't keep anything in it. I don't do anything with it. I forget that I have it, but a good cardboard box is special to me. I put on my wedding ring, which I don't usually wear, but it's just like, it's like the most generic gold band you can buy. It was $50 at some like strip mall jewelry store, like Zales probably or something. And there are some times when I just like find it really funny to do something. Like most people care about their wedding bands and want something really special and sentimental. And like, it's not a reflection on my marriage to get like the cheapest, most generic band I could at a strip mall. But like, to me, it makes me really happy to do that because I think it's funny. And I just like, sometimes I really like really generic things. Like taking the last name Roberts, like artists, when it's two artists in a couple, usually they keep their own last names. And so taking my husband's last name, like seem like it's like way outdated. It's not something like you should do, especially if you're a feminist and all that stuff. But I liked to, I guess it's irony, you know, but I also like the name a lot. I like to do the wrong thing sometimes, like in little ways that people, I don't know, just to make me happy. This is something I made out of clay when I wasn't a little kid. I was in high school, actually. It was for a project, a humanities class that I had with my friend. And we made a Trojan horse out of paper mache that opened up, and this is Helen that came out. My daughter is like so much better at art making than I was at that age. But I made this recently. It's just a little basket of cookies. All right, that's enough trinkets. I can only do one thing at a time, barely. And so I'm gonna try to look at the comments like occasionally, which I'm doing right now. Try not to screw anything up. Hello, dear friends. Okay, those are mostly comments, not questions, which is fine, which is nice. I like comments better. So I'm going to show you a little bit more our studio. I'm gonna turn my camera around. There we go. Okay. This used to be my sister's Cabbage Patch Kid, and I had 13 of my own, but I like hers because hers has that powder, baby powder scent, and mine were, they stopped doing that after like the first couple years, and so mine don't smell good. This is my portfolio of paintings. So like this is obviously the cover of my book, and this is just acrylic paint on heavy hot press watercolor paper, which is very smooth. And this is also from a panel in the book. And it's just me and Zia waiting at the corner for the bus. These are a couple of really old paintings from probably around 2004 that are gouache on paper. Dolls, Barbie dolls and other dolls have come in and out of my life so many times in so many ways. This is a box of childhood art. This says Keiler 1981. That's probably a portrait of my mom. This is, I was born in 78, so I was a little one at this time. And this is like part of a whole series of really nice drawings. All right, so I've only gone through this box a couple times, but I found a few things. This paper is amazing. This is on like that old printer paper with the little holes in the sides and the stripes. But this is probably like my first comic ever. I don't have any memory of making this, but I actually made this into a comic story in one of my books. There was a rubber ducky and the tail got cut off. And I actually remember it. I remember cutting off the tail, and I got in trouble for it. My sister was babysitting me, and which she rarely did. She's 10 years older, and she gave me a spanking for cutting the tail off my rubber ducky in my memory as an adult. And I remember my sister asked me, "You're going to be spanked. Would you like one really hard spanking or 10 little ones?" So of course I picked 10 little ones because I will always take like more things that are less intense. And that's exactly how I am now. It's the way I always pick like quantity over quality. But But anyway, in this picture, it says Nikki, and I don't know who that is, but she's holding the scissors and saying sorry. So I don't know if I like remembered it wrong and I didn't cut the tail off, but felt guilty, and maybe I wasn't punished for it. I might have been punished for something else. Anyway, like, I guess I'm bringing all this up because it's about memory and autobio and whatnot. This one is, again, on this like crazy paper. I put this drawing in sunburning. This was me. I did it in preschool. I wrote my name backwards. I don't know what that means, but probably predicted something bad. And then the teacher transcribed, I want to be a bunny feeder when I grow up. This is me opening up the cage so the bunnies can hop in. Very nice. And then this is awful. I think I did this I did it in 6th grade, 1989. And obviously it was like, these are all the things that describe me. This is who I am. My favorite color, pizza, Nintendo, sewing, all that stuff. Ugh. All right. I have so many boxes of stuff that Zia made. She makes much, much more interesting things than I did when I was a kid. Let's see, before I switch this around, this is my fancy drawing system. I use a board and I just keep it like propped up on my lap with the Bristol board taped to it. And then I have my thumbnail penciled sketch off to the side. That's my dog. Looks just like him. All right. I showed, Scott brought this out when he was cleaning up the studio, drawn in quarterly from October 1991, sitting around. All right, I guess I'll turn back around. My students were so used to that. I taught on Zoom, and like every time I have to do something, like switch the camera around or whatever, it's this long ordeal. Takes forever, or reading the chat comments, so forth. I'm not slick about technology. I also have, a little more Barbie stuff. I have talking about like things that influence me. This isn't Barbie, but this is an old coloring book that I got from like a little free library. And it has these line drawings in it that I think are fantastic. I love this drawing. It's like so, it's so much like one of mine in my book. It's just like this room interior line drawing, no shading, no foreshortening really, telling sort of a story. And I just look at this all the time, and like my daughter's like, oh, I want to do the word find or whatever. I'm like, no, don't mark on my used coloring book. It's like precious to me. And then I found this Barbie, I don't know what year this is from. It's an old Barbie coloring book. But this one has such a bizarre composition. Like the way this Barbie's face is just like lined up with the other one's hair, sort of abutting. Like that's something you're not supposed to do in composition because it gets confusing and it flattens the space and all that stuff. But when I see it in paintings and drawings, I love it. I love it when things are put together in odd ways that create tension and make it more interesting to me. And this drawing, I got this comic book right before the pandemic started. And it's hard to see the whole thing, but it's a sleepover. And all the Barbies are like just together in one big room on the floor doing their own thing on their little mats. And this drawing, once the pandemic started and like you couldn't go into somebody else's house, I would just look at this and cry. It became like such a sad, meaningful work of art to me, you know, because it just represented like everything we couldn't have. And so I still can't have sleepovers, but we're getting there with kids. I have, so this is what I do. Each book, like my begging chart, filled up 3 of these portfolios. These are just these plastic things that you can get at Blick or other stores, and they're really nice for keeping pages neat and clean, keeping organized. I use Post-it notes to sort of, you know, as I go, so I know what pages I scanned and what pages I didn't. This is a page from the book. It was an exhibit of Manet's paintings at the Art Institute that I went to, you know, before the pandemic. And it was very crowded. There were lots of people there. And this woman, you know, I just overheard her say, he must have liked flowers. And like Manet is like one of the most revolutionary painters in history. And so it's kind of like an idiotic comment because it's so simple and not academic, but it's also like, I'm sure completely true. And there's nothing wrong with like going into a show of Manet paintings and like having that thought like, oh, he must have really liked flowers, you know, and like everybody likes flowers, you know. Manet might have liked them like more than the average person. But like, I just kind of liked the simplicity of that moment and that comment. And after I left this room, I was walking into another room that was crowded, and there were some older women who knew each other, who obviously were taking some kind of like painting class, you know, probably not for credit, I don't know, like just some sort of class. And they were talking about the paintings and talking about like, obviously like applying stuff that they had been taught in the class. And they were critiquing the compositions. They were like, oh, you know, this, all the fruit is in the center and it's really symmetrical and it's an even number. It's like 4 apples instead of, you know, 3 or something. And it's like, that's the point. Manet did like screw with the compositions on purpose all the time. Like he was trying to do interesting experimental things. He was not trying to follow the rules that like your first painting teacher is going to teach you about composition. Like in teaching and in my work, well, in life constantly, like I recognize that like you want to learn more. I always want to learn more, but as I learn more about a topic, there's often like a dip, like you know more, and then suddenly it just makes you like much worse than you were before, because like all kids are really good at drawing, you know, like there's no kid that makes a bad drawing. But then as kids get to try to be more realistic, they are learning more about art, but their drawings become like very frozen and still and awkward a lot of times. They become worse. They're not joyful to look at. They're just sort of uncomfortable. And the same thing happens for like undergraduate students and graduate students. And it happened to me even in grad school. Like the worst critique I got was like, your work was so much better when you came in. Like when we looked at your application and accepted you, I was really excited by what you were doing, but then it became really morose with a slow metabolism. And I laugh, it's very funny to me now. But it's like, it's an awful place to be in, to actually get worse as you're learning more. But it is just like the natural state of learning more. And so I was, you know, watching these women talk about the Manet paintings, and it's like, the problem is they've just learned a little bit, and now they think there are all these rules to painting that they have to follow. And they're actually like applying these rules to Manet. Now what? I have no idea what time it is. I haven't been looking at the chat. Oh, it's 12:30. Okay. I'm gonna open up the chat again and see if there's any questions. I People are just making nice comments. Okay. I didn't say mayonnaise. I mean, I did, but how do you say it without making Edward Manet not sound like mayonnaise? I mean, I'm saying MANET''S, which is the same as saying mayonnaise. Computer paper. Oh, I was going to talk about paper too. My grandpa used to own a print shop in Milwaukee, and this is really weird because I have the he would give us these like oddball pads. This is actually not from the print shop. This is probably just one that he like handmade. It's got like real linen tape, and it's I don't know, it's just like handmade scratch pad. And then this, it says credit okay, order number, shipping and handling, but it's just this odd paper. It looks like the paper that checks are made out of. And I just always like really loved these weird binders and stationery and papers and stuff. And he would talk to me about like design. And he would say, do you know what the hardest thing to photograph is? And I had no idea. And he said, a diamond, because it's impossible to make a diamond look sparkly in a photograph. It needs to be like in movement, rotation to show like the sparkling. It just sort of doesn't look that way. And then also, I'm going to flip this around again. Our doorbell just rang, but I assume that that's just a package. He made this like piece of furniture with all these drawers in it. He made a lot of things like woodworking kind of things. And he had a dark room in his home. And he made that little like file thing with all the pegs. And he was in his 90s when he made that. And I asked for just like this filing, get closer. I asked for this, like you can buy this at Office Depot for $20, but he was kind of looking for a project. So I asked him to make one, and he made this thing, and it's like the most complex way and so weird that you could ever come up with. Like, these things stick up really, and it's all these pegs, and he gave me replacement pegs, all this stuff. And he said when he gave it to me, he's like, this was my last project, which was really sad. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God, Christy Ann, Jesus. That's phenomenal. Wow, can you put that in water?
Yes, bye.
That is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Oh my God, thank you. I don't know if thank you. I don't know if I have Christy Ann's book up here or if it's downstairs. Thank you. I don't know what I was saying. Doesn't matter. I was talking about my grandpa making things. And like my parents made a bunch of stuff too. My dad built our house that I grew up in and our cottage. And he's not even a carpenter. This is a fox that my mom got me at a thrift store because it looked just like my first dog, who was like extremely sweet to me and so nice, but his little teeth always hung out. And this fox has the same thing, like this little tooth showing. And so this is like my forever chili stuffed fox. This is a sculpture that Scott made a long time ago using like image mapping. We had the actual dog like sit, and he was trained, unlike my other dogs. He would sit perfectly still. And so Scott was able to photograph him from all angles and then like texture map it onto this. This is one piece of paper that folds up and sort of is this sculpture. And I know Rob, I saw your name before, Rob Clow was making a joke about it on Facebook or something about how like the next thing I need to do is be in Dog Fancy or some magazine. We were in Bark magazine because of that sculpture and the drawings that I was doing at the time. Okay, I need to figure out how to redo and click. I'm so sorry. Everybody's getting motion sick. For some reason, I can't turn there we go, camera around. All right, I'm going to look at the chat again. More comments, nice comments. Oh, here's an actual question from Rob, who I was just talking about. How does your love of playing with Barbies relate to Linda Berry's notion of play as a serious meditative activity? And then, oh man, I've thought about this a lot. I think Linda Berry has a very interesting idea of what play is, and I don't think it's the same as how I view playing. I like, my fantasy is to be able to like sit down and talk to her about it. I feel like what I do when I have a conversation with somebody is play, and I try to play when I'm teaching, and there's definitely like an element of play when I'm working on comics. And for me, it's basically like not seeing the right answer. You're not trying to put together a puzzle, where there's only one solution. It's like, for me, play is anytime you do something for either fun or for humor, then you're playing. And so instead of like answering a question directly, there's usually another answer that's just funny, that answers the question, but it doesn't just like give information. So that's play for me. But like play for Zia, or play for a kid, a lot of it is really just like acting out like very realistic scenarios that will happen when you're grown up, like the dolls get ready for a party, they make invitations and send them out, or they prepare they decorate their room, they do all these sort of realistic things. It's like sort of what happens in movies and stuff. It's never like they're really doing anything. I don't know. I think also like when I was still playing Cabbage Patch Kids, like hardcore, in 6th grade, like puberty starts, so, and like people are, talking about kissing other kids and stuff. And I remember like I was really into sewing doll clothes at that time, and like I sewed a little bra for my dolls. These are like children body Cabbage Patch Kids, and like I remember with my friend, like we had the two of the dolls like kiss, and then I had like such a feeling of regret. I was like, oh, that was so wrong. They're too young to kiss. They shouldn't be involved in that stuff. Like she's too young to wear a bra. And we had to figure out like how to make it okay, like how to undo something that you played and pretended with. And so I don't remember, but I think we like agreed that it was a dream sequence. It's always like the way out. It's like it never really happened. The dolls dreamed it. Because to me, like even playing dolls, it was so real. Like what happened. The dolls are these dolls. They have these names and these characteristics, and it was so fixed and so rigid, and like there were so many rules. And it's like theater, like there are a certain amount of rules that you have to maintain in order to keep the illusion going. And that had to happen with my dolls. And like another rule is like, I would never dream of mixing one doll with another type of doll, especially if they were not the same scale, like it would be just incredibly wrong to play with like these two dolls, and like my daughter's mind is flexible enough to probably do something like that possibly, or it was when she was little. Now she's becoming like more realistic. But yeah, like that's just the way I think. There are these like really strict rules. I think I have like way more rules in my head about playing other things than Linda Berry does. Like when she talks about process and like how she works, I feel like she's more open to different kinds of possibilities. All right, look at the chat again. That was one question, but I think there was another one. Please speak about the relationship between your paintings and ink drawings. Yeah. So like basically the paintings are comics that are already exist as drawings in my books. And so I just like trace them onto paper and then paint them. And if there's dialogue, the dialogue gets taken away. This comes directly from my begging chart. And basically, I mean, color can add like a much greater sense of space and environment. I try to get panels where like the emotion will come through or the humor will get through. In painting, I think it just like, it has a different impact. You feel it differently, you know, and like, I think a lot of times people will spend a little bit more time with a painting, you know, and it works well on a book cover. But I don't like make these, like, this is kind of it. The paintings just sort of are made and they just sit in this binder. And then maybe they're reproduced for this and that. But I don't have like a whole book of paintings or sort of like an end place to put them. The comics are always made eventually to go into a book. And that's one of the main differences with a painting, because I'm not showing them or anything. They're just like, my guest room is full of paintings. Guess I can, let's see. I have a, without, I'm going to try not to fall down the stairs. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to look at the chat again to see if there's more questions that I missed. Yeah, it's just like 1,000 questions about mayonnaise. All right. I don't know. If I missed something, I'm sorry. All right. So I'm like accidentally holding the phone way too close. It's like when your mom calls you and you're grocery shopping and it's like, you know, it's not set up. Not my mom. I'm talking about your mom. My mom actually has an iPad stand and she looks like so civilized and nice when she calls me. All right. I'm leaving the studio, but here you can get a look at the whole thing. So I have one side and then we share a table and then Scott has his side. Oh, I was going to show this too. Like, this is 100% rough drafts and I actually throw a lot of them out too. This is just like thumbnailed drawings. And like some of these I never made into comics. This is my daughter as maybe a 6-year-old saying, only one person gets naked with mommy each day at work. And then I sort of show what's going on. It's me teaching figure drawing. I used to be around naked people all the time. This is like an example of one that the back of a spirograph page, you know, and like if something doesn't work out, you know, I just drew something on a Post-it note and stuck it over. Sometimes I cut and paste, you know, the editing is all like pretty casual. This is one that I never did. It's like maybe someday. It's me taking a photograph of my food and I'm all alone and my food is like a veggie burger with a face on it. It's the kind of thing like you only do for the pleasure of the people you're eating with, usually a child. This is like a scrap version of Chlorine Gardens, like that I put together when I print out just to help me see what it is as I'm working on it. There was another thing that I just saw go up in the chat. Looked like a question. What was your favorite Barbie? Oh God, Beauty Secrets. I don't know what, oh shoot. I just clicked on, I'm sorry if my camera went away for a second. I'll get back to it. There, okay. I cannot do two things at once. This is I have people who know me know this about me, and Scott will use it. He will like talk to me knowing that just like even the dumbest talk will distract me enough that he can do anything. And he has like handed me handfuls of garbage like while talking to me, knowing that I'll just put out my hand reflexively and take it. All right, so we're going downstairs. This is hallway. And this is the guest room, which never has guests. But like these are some of my, these are really old paintings. This is my first dog, Chili. I didn't fall down the stairs, but there's more stairs to go. I did all these still lives from life. I worked from photographs for a lot at first, and then I did a bunch of still lives. I did them on paper, and they're sort of behind glass. These are frames that my dad made for me that I painted. This is another one. When Carta stays here, she makes me move the squirrel out of this room, but it belongs here because the painting is right there. All right, Zia has a little painting down there. And these are the comics paintings, what I have left of them, that are just on these little panels taped to the wall. These panels are fantastic to work on, but you can't frame them without like covering up part of the picture unless you have a frame made, you know, where it like nestles in and it's totally flat. All right, this is this amazing dollhouse that my dad built for my daughter, and it has two sides. It was designed so that two kids could play at once and not fight the whole time. And it has a drawer that keeps the accessories. It's not really set up that well now. I have a bunch of these prints that Jay Ryan made at the Bird Machine of my comics. Okay, Zia is in her room right now. Right behind this door doing online Zoom school. We have this amazing painting by Jose Lerma in our hallway. All right, so I tried to draw this in sunburning, but it's like really hard to draw. We've got stairs and then a tiny little piece of floor and then more stairs. And when I bought this house, I was like, somebody's gonna die here. These stairs are so treacherous. We had to carpet one set because our dog Cricky could not handle the stairs without falling down. All right, so this is where Pepsi spends a lot of his time. This is where I spend a lot of my time. I know people have been like joking about this, the pandemic creases on their couch, but like there is a butt impression. I spend so much time here. Let's see, this is our dining room. This is sort of the room where we keep our big art collection. We've got a lot of stuff. I'm moving too fast, I'm sorry. This is like making people nauseous, I'm sure. All right, I'm going to show you quickly. We have a lot of like just stuff that Zia puts up, like rabbits and carrots and just paper stuff on the wall, right? This Gabrielle Bell and a rabbit. This is, I wanted to paint this whole house white. Our last condo was like all gray, and Scott was adamant that we have color. And so we had this like big bargaining system, and it was like room by room. Like, if I can keep neutrals in the bedroom, I will give you yellow in the little nook. And he agreed to it. And I'm glad, it's nice to have color. This is a still life from a long time ago. I think I was in grad school or maybe just out of it. Some of my paintings. One of the things I did during the pandemic was like a lot of like painting on cards and sending them to people. All right, I can hear Pepsi crying. All right, so I'm going to end in the basement with Pepsi. Pepsi is 6 months old. He's a cockapoo. Crookie died in March. She was a Basenji poodle. She's the one that you know from my books, if you ever read my books. So now we have this little baby puppy, and I had to keep him down here because I thought he would bark during the whole takeover. This is a ridiculously small kennel for him. He showers, so don't call anybody to report me. He's not suffering. He can get in and out. Hi, baby. Hello. Yeah. That's right. Oh, hello. Yes, he's adorable. He's so cute. It's very hard to get a dog or a puppy in the pandemic. We didn't we couldn't be that picky. He has the stupidest tail. It's ridiculous. I'm cutting his hair myself and I don't really know what to do with it. It just looks worse and worse, but we'll figure it out. Yes, he was very sick last week. And he's doing so much better and I'm happy to see it. But just like Zia was, when a dog is healthy, he's so naughty. He's like wrecking everything in the house and biting me and being a little terror. Zia used to do that. Like the first time she felt okay, she would do that. Okay, I'm coming up an hour. One more thing while he's getting into trouble. I'm very mixed about Christmas, but I keep Christmas decorations up year round in my basement because my Aunt Jackie used to do that. And I just always loved that. So in honor of Aunt Jackie, I keep my basement decorated. Oh, he's running off. I will show you quickly the mess. I didn't clean my house. My mom, the last time she came, she was like, don't worry, don't think you have to clean. I'm finally at the point where it's like, nope, I didn't feel that way. And I'm still not going to feel that way. She understands. All right, little baby boy. Thank you, everybody, for watching me yammer on. And thank you if you're planning on reading the book, My Bagging Chart, Drawing Quarterly. It's in bookstores absolutely everywhere, libraries. You can order it from anywhere. I will turn this around to say an official goodbye, if I can remember how to do that. All right, there. I'm gonna try to look at the camera. I was looking down this whole time. Do you feel like I'm looking at you now? That's probably too intense. All right. Thank you. I don't actually know how to stop. No, I'm just going to keep going awkwardly. Don't worry. Oh, wait a second. Don't worry about me being a fool. I was going to talk about, okay, I'm going to look at the chat again. Oh, okay. I guess I'm going to keep going. When I was going to waste time at the beginning, I was going to talk about the things that I dream about. Dreams are like so boring to talk about. And as a cartoonist, I think as an autobio person, like one of my biggest fears is just being boring. That would be such a hurtful insult. So I was going to intentionally just talk about dreams. I have this recurring dream that I'm at a buffet and I am so anxious because everything looks really good. And I can't make the decision of what to get, and I know that I'm gonna get full before I am able to eat everything good. That's my stress dream, like not knowing which of 12 delicious things to get. And then I have this other dream that's like really stressful, where I walk into a room and I realize that I have cages and cages of pets, like rodents and birds and stuff that I've had, and I've totally neglected them. And their cages are full of poop and their waters are empty, and they're all alive though, you know. And then I have a dream that I think is like super common, where I'm trying to go to the bathroom and the reason I can't is because there's no privacy. And so like in my dream, there's all these bathrooms where there's like 30 stalls, but like none of them have doors that open, or somebody comes in with me, you know, there's somebody like watching me. And I have the teeth one, you know, your teeth fall apart, that kind of thing. I don't have like the fun, wonderful dreams where like you're flying, or, you know, I don't know. My puppy is taking advantage of me being distracted. He just like got all the toilet paper and ran downstairs with it. He thinks this is the greatest thing ever because he's usually sort of more confined. Yes, Pepsi. Oh, Zia's door is opening. Do you want to say hi? Okay.
Hi.
Zia is 10.
Hi, puppy. Hi. Hi, Pepsi. Hi. Hi, baby.
Do you want to say anything else?
No.
No? Is school done? No. It's not done.